Hey, good afternoon. This is Carbon County Commissioner Chris Civic. This is the virtual meeting after the commissioners meeting. I'm going to be online here till about 11:30 to 11:45 or so, just providing an opportunity in case there are any questions, issues, concerns. If anyone had the chance to see today's commissioners meeting, I'm more than willing to answer any questions that you have. All you have to do is go into the chat room and chat. Or otherwise, you can go ahead and give me a call at 570-503-6780, and I'm going to put that in right there, 570-503. 6780. At the same time, I'm going to do a couple minutes of work. I'll discuss some of the actions that took place at today's commissioners meeting. I'm going to pull up the agenda, take a quick review of that with you all while I have you online. All right, I saw some emails coming in. All right. Sending a couple. It's interesting, on my iPad I can see comments, yet on my other feed, on my iPhone I can see comments, yet on the C4 Commissioner page on my computer screen I can't see the comments. So again, this is Chris Lukasevich. For about the next 15 to 20 minutes I'm going to be available to answer any questions you have. If you have any issues, feel free to raise them at this time. The primary purpose, though, is to discuss some of the major activities that have taken place during today's commissioners meeting. Pretty short meeting, lasted about 30 minutes. I think one of the most notable elements was the hotel tax revenue. We actually see the hotel tax revenue for the year, might be surprising to some, is actually about $45,000 ahead of last year's pace. Now, I think if any of us were actively following the COVID-19, we saw a notable influx of individuals into Carbon County, specifically the Kidder Township, Penn Forest area, where there's a lot of Airbnbs, but really all over the county. And we saw a notable increase in Airbnb rentals. I was looking at the specific numbers for each category to include Airbnb, and it was significant, the amount. So I mean, the positive is the revenue that is coming in for hotel tax revenue. The county will have up to date about $17,800 for admin, plus there's an extra $89,000 the county gets from that. That'll be used to support tourism, and a lot of that does support things such as Mock Chunk Lake Park, its maintenance and things of that nature. Speaking to Mock Chunk Lake Park, I did want to emphasize that Mock Chunk Lake Park, 2 more weekends, right? This weekend and Labor Day weekend. We are swim at your own risk. It is swim at your own risk. Again, the majority of lifeguards who we have, who are high school and college kids, have either gone back to classes or actually started some of the band activities, sports camps, or training and things of that nature. So we did have to go to swim at your own risk. While there is a lifeguard or lifeguards out there, they are not actively sitting in the chairs, but moving around the beach areas in the first aid station or lifeguard station, ready to provide assistance as might be needed. But it is swim at your own risk. I do want to highlight today at 2 o'clock will be the final session of Recreate and Educate. That is a collaboration between Mock Chunk Lake Park staff and the staff at Carbon County's Environmental Education Center. Every Thursday for about the last 6 weeks, they've been there at 2 o'clock on Thursday to kind of connect visitors to the beach with the natural wildlife and the environment of here in Carbon County. They've had hawks out there, turtles, snakes, all types of things. So again, this is the last opportunity to have the kids out there or the adults, 2 o'clock out at Mock Chunk Lake Park. So feel free to get on out there. This weekend and Labor Day weekend are the last 2 weekends. The beach area of the park is open. Bear in mind, the park remains open, the beach specific park. County residents, season pass holders, campers, and those renting pavilions. So go out there and enjoy the peace and tranquility that we've had out there at Mock Chunk Lake Park. It might be a challenging weekend weather-wise, but Labor Day is kind of looking pretty good so far, the long-range forecast that is out there the weekend after this one. So again, this is Chris Lukasiewicz, Carbon County Commissioner. I'm just doing my virtual meeting after the Commissioners meeting. The primary purpose is to go ahead and give you an opportunity, should you so desire, to give me a call right now or to have any questions or issues answered. I try to keep it narrow to the Commissioners meeting, but again, any concern or issue. So I did mention the hotel tax. So looking real quickly at the agenda from today's meeting, there was a motion made to accept responsibility for a $5,100 grant for the Area Agency on Aging, and those funds are targeted for a pool table up at the Weatherly Senior Center, in addition to 2 benches that'll be used outside the Weatherly Senior Center, so as the seniors, await arrival of transportation and buses. CDBG grant recommendation for rejecting a bid for Lehighton some sidewalks at the ramp corners of Iron Street. It says 2nd Street to 6th Street. My understanding is Lehighton's portion exceeded what they had programmed, therefore it was a request for us to reject that particular CDBG bid. The county did assume acceptance of renewal of special risk accident insurance for community volunteers. So this is through our county association of Pennsylvania. It provides coverage for volunteers, and volunteers are classified as work release participants, community volunteers, court alternative sentencing, and juvenile tobacco settlement program participants who are doing non-hazardous activities. So again, that's just ensuring that we are covered in regards to liability. So my number, if you want to call, you don't want to necessarily type in a comment, 570-503-6780. This is Chris Lukasiewicz, Carbon County Commissioner, and I'll be online for about the next 10 or 15 minutes, just doing the virtual meeting after the Commissioners meeting. And right now I'm simply reviewing the agenda items from today's Commissioners meetings to see if there is anything of note. Did see there was a request to use the gazebo down in Josiah White Park for a wedding on Saturday the 26th. Great setting down there. All right. I did a block grant update. I did provide the press with a block grant update, and I'll kind of give a quick overview to you all. I could do a screen share with Facebook, but once I go to screen share, I can't come back. So bear in mind that the county received $5.79 million. Now, when we initially did the call for applications, there was over $15 million in applications, or valued at $15 million. Once that went through the justification process, right, the vetting by our block grant administration cell, that got whittled down to just $5.3 million. Now that $5.3 million didn't include an additional 1.5 plus that the county had earmarked and set aside. So we set aside $1 million for county expenses, $500,000 for broadband, $50,000 for admin fees associated with the administration of it, plus another 17.5 thousand that was earmarked to Carbon Chamber, Carbon County Community Foundation, and the Council of Governments, who are also assisting with the block grant program. So of that 5.354 that was justified by the applicants, exclusive of that 1.5 that the county has placeholders on, once we decided to place a $100,000 cap on applications, that brought the amount of potential grants to about just over $4 million. Or again, I know a little confusing, but then you add the county portion in and you're about $5.6 million. So we're looking at potentially on this first round of dispersing up to 5.6 million of $5.79 million, what's going to leave us ultimately just under $400,000 for a second round. And that may increase depending on how much of that allocation the county actually uses that we have done as a set aside. So looks like we'll have a strong second application period, about $500,000 ballpark figure, right, should go out there. Probably, I would say, the end of September, early October. In addition, DCED, right, the Department of Community Economic Development forewarned us the day before yesterday that it is likely there might be additional funds dispensed on or about the middle of December as part of this grant program. That is, counties that haven't used their funds, they would bring it back into the pot, then redistribute it again to the county. So we may even have a little bit more money coming there. So again, the process is going well. Just about 200 applications went to the committees last week. They're due back to the county on the 31st, and then the commissioners and the block grant administration cell will do another review and then a determination for making those awards. So that's moving pretty fast. I would say go to carboncounty.com. You'll see front and center an image for the COVID-19 relief portal. Click on there and you can see the spreadsheet. Every entity or individual that have applied for funds, how much they applied for, did they receive PPP or EIDL, how much is their actual justified amount of award, and where their particular application is in the process. So that's in a spreadsheet there. So go ahead, take the opportunity of good transparency and take a look at that document. And we will be posting the committee reports also once they are complete. Kevin, good to see you. Fond memories of WHA, America's WHA and America's division there on the joint staff. I do follow you on Facebook, and I love your posts, so keep it up. Margie, how are you this morning? Again, this is Chris Lukasevich, Carbon County Commissioner. This is the virtual meeting after the Commissioners meeting, and I'm just highlighting some of the most notable elements of today's Commissioners meeting. This is also a chance to post a comment, a concern, issue, allow me to address it, or to reiterate, I'm always available at 570-503-6780, except between 5:30 and 7:30 that I try to block off for dinner, Maggie Molly time, get Molly fed, ready for bed, showered, bathed, all those things. Our senior centers in Carbon County have reopened. Spoke to our area agency on aging director here about 2 days ago. It's going really well. It's great to see some of the seniors coming out to the senior center again. The biggest challenge we have where the seniors were unhappy with the particular gloves they were issued that are used when they're playing cards, right? So you're not handing cards and passing germs back and forth on playing cards. So I know the director jumped right on that and got them more suitable gloves for playing cards. Shelley, thank you so much for joining us. This is Chris. This is a virtual meeting after the commissioners meeting, and for about the next 10 minutes or so, I'll continue to be online, talking a little bit, but also I'm going to jump in to do some work, kind of multitask here, as I continue to see if there's anything of note from the commissioners meeting. I gave an update just now on the block grant. Mock Chunk Lake Park, Recreate and Educate, last iteration of that, 2 o'clock today. Real positive on the hotel tax, right? Revenue is actually surpassing last year's revenue by about $45,000 ahead of last year. I think the total that came in revenue tax up to date is $445,000, and that was during COVID. All right, parking kiosks, aspirational. We are hoping to have the parking kiosks in place by the beginning of September. We're definitely not going to make that time period. Taking a little bit longer than we had hoped in regards to doing the ordinance, and it's not so much that we're having problems rewriting the ordinance to integrate the kiosk. It's just actually, I'm going to be sincere with you, it's finding the time to sit down for another couple hours within our current schedule to fit that in amongst other priorities. So looking right now, I would not expect the kiosk to be in before sometime in October. And why is that? One, we have to finish the ordinance. Once the ordinance is in, then you have to ensure the signage that we started working on is finalized, order the signs to mark the kiosk to kind of highlight some of the guidelines. We also have to do the education and training, not only on the 2 different softwares. There's kind of the back office software for the kiosks, and then there's enforcement software that also has to be trained on. Plus there's certain hardware, right? Because we're doing a pay-by-plate, so the enforcement officers, or I'm calling them our parking ambassadors, will have an electronic device similar to what you see the Borough of Jim Thorpe using. However, this will also have the ability to actually scan license plates because we're using a pay-by-plate system. I'm going to see if I have a copy of the sign. Okay. So this was a design for the kiosk marking signs. Now recognize that Jim Thorpe does have signs that mark where the kiosks are. Think about this. You have a 6-foot-high vehicle, or you have a pickup truck or something. From a distance, it's really hard to see where the kiosks are, mostly in our county lot. So what I've done here is, this is similar to what Jim Thorpe uses. They're about 10 feet high up in the air. These are marked. Notice though, Jim Thorpe uses red to differentiate, looking at blue as the potential, and we replace the O with our county seal, right? So a little bit of class there. Looking at that. Then the other signs that will be used to designate zones and areas are right here. So it's pay by plate at kiosk or mobile app, and we'll be using the Flowbird app for visitors. I can't go into much more detail on the ordinances and the notable changes that will be taking place, but I will emphasize there's some really good news for our Carbon County residents who will be conducting county business, and it's something I pushed on 6 January. I think we're going to be able to bring that to realization here with an updated ordinance. So stay tuned for that. I look forward to getting that ordinance out there once it's been moved to a vote. during a forthcoming commissioners meeting. And I suspect in 2 to 3 weeks we can have that ordinance actually as an agenda item. So parking kiosks. Now, let me mention about that October kind of bringing in the kiosks. I think the commissioners, we really need to consider the concern with trying to transition to a kiosk in the middle of fall foliage. The challenge will be, transitioning systems and the hiccups associated when you have such a large influx of individuals coming into Carbon County. Right now, I'm leaning towards delaying the implementation of the kiosks until on or about 1 November. Again, that way the demands of parking will go down a bit right after the fall foliage. But again, Rocky Wayne and I will get together with our chief clerk, our parking administrator, and have that conversation. But again, I think it's all good. We are moving forward with the kiosk. George, thanks for joining us. Sarah, thanks for joining us. This is Chris, Carbon County Commissioner. This is the virtual meeting after the Commissioners meeting. I'm taking a few minutes just to update on some of the issues from today's Commissioners meeting. If you have a question, you can go ahead and feel free. You can comment on Facebook where it's streaming, or you can give me a call at 570-503-6780. And that is more or less, let's call it my 24/7 number. Other than between that 2 hours a day where I block it for Maggie and Molly, strictly and prohibited to them, right? 5:30 to 7:30 in the afternoons, just after I get home on a regular day. Oh, the last thing I want to talk about is the 44 and 76th Street renovation project. We did vote today to put the bid out, so you will see a bid going out here very shortly. I suspect as soon as Monday or Tuesday in the advertising for 44 and 76 Susquehanna Street renovations. We have determined that we will do concurrent renovations, and while there's a little bit of an offset, it's going to greatly reduce the amount of time that it's going to take to do the projects, because we'll be, for the majority, 44 and 76 renovations will be taking place at the same time, instead of doing 44 then 76. Now, if we would have done it sequential, it would have cost well over $500,000 additional dollars to do sequential renovations. However, with concurrent renovations, we're going to save just over what is projected, just over about $420,000 by doing it concurrent. So again, it was an arduous task to bring all that data together, to bring it to a decision, but we were able to do that, and I have no doubt, we ultimately made the right decision. Now, we are continuing to look at rental properties that are needed for some temporary relocations from 1 October all the way to June, even into July of next year. We have 4 properties we're looking at, continuing to have discussions internally. That includes the Mock Chunk Trust Company property, Jim Thorpe Area School District office, and plus 2 other privately owned properties here in Jim Thorpe. Because what would happen on 1 October, you would see juvenile probation, planning and development, and Pocono workforce would relocate to one location through about June. And then after the election results are certified, on or about 1 December, you'll see the elections office will also be moving. And then we'll start the retrograde back to those buildings, in June. So the construction period or renovation period is from the very end of October, the first week in November, because we don't want to disrupt fall foliage. So you'll really see work start the very beginning of November, and it'll last, at least projected to, through June. That's again the renovation project for 44 and 76. If I recall, the numbers are between projected estimated amount between 4.5 and $5 million. There is some optimism that those numbers might actually come in notably lower. We'll see how that works out. Let's knock on wood. We've already programmed to save over $420,000 with the sequential renovations. So again, this is Chris Lukasiewicz. This is the meeting, the virtual meeting after the commissioners meeting. I have about 3 more minutes. I'll be available here online before I'm going to shut it down and end this live video stream from my office here at 2 Hazard Square in the epicenter of Carbon County tourism, right? Gateway to the Poconos, the Switzerland of the Americas, Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining me. Never hesitate to give me a call. I did have a bunch of text messages last night to the number 570-503-6780 in regards to a concept that an individual has from Lehighton for the Jamestown flat area there in Lehighton. What he would like to see are murals placed along that stretch. One thinks it'd bring interest for tourists, beautification process. I directed him to a couple different entities who I thought would be notable stakeholders, would have an interest in listening to his proposal. Had him reach out to the Carbon Chamber because they focused on both tourism and there's an economic element to his concept. In addition, wanted him to reach out to the artist community to include the Carbon County Art League to start building advocates. Now also, Jamestown Flats, I don't recall if it's totally in Lehighton or Lehighton and Mahoning Township, so it's important to start those conversations with the township supervisors, borough council members, business manager, whatever the case may be, borough manager, to start talking about, the property, looking on GIS to see who actually owns the property that he envisions these murals being placed upon. So best of luck with that. I kind of deflected to the subject matter experts. I'm not an artist. I don't significantly appreciate it, not nearly as much as my artist wife Maggie does, who has her own artist studio and is a mixed media artist. So I deflected him to the subject matter experts who I thought could best help him bring his concept to a decision. So again, Chris Lukasiewicz, Carbon County Commissioner. This is the virtual meeting after the Commissioners meeting. I try on a regular basis every other week to host this little session. In addition, once a month, trying to be about the first Thursday of the month normally, will be Carbon Matters live streaming. While we did it a little offset this past week, that was last Thursday, we did have Joe Stearns from Better Schuylkill PAC, and Joe and I, along with Maggie, had a conversation on home rule. That is taking a lot of the authorities from the state, delegating that down to the county or the municipality through a form of county government or municipality government referred to as home rule. And home rule, we have 3 of the 5 contiguous counties to Carbon. Luzerne, Lehigh, and Northampton are already home rule counties. I'm a big proponent of home rule. It provides a check and balance, kind of like a federal and state level or an executive and legislative bodies. It can ensure with the charter written that there are term limits placed upon elected officials. It allows a larger body of what would be really council members, some might call them commissioners, who are part-time employees of the county without fringe benefits. And they could be 7, 9, or 11 of these members. And that also allows greater representation of the county because you can have both geographical and at-large members. It allows a reorganization of county government, elimination of row offices. For example, I believe it is Lehigh that abolished deeds, will, and prothonotary and put those all under one kind of clerk, or what would have been a clerk of courts. So you actually eliminate 4 row offices, which are probably 400, 300,000. Those 3 of 4 probably saving about $300,000 a year. For example, I do know that in Luzerne County, those commissioners, quote unquote, council members, of which there are 11, they're only getting $8,500 a year for their work. No fringe benefits. In Lehigh County, those council members, aka commissioners, of which there are 9, they get 1/2 the salary of the lowest wage full-time employee. So I suspect they're around $10,000 or $15,000 a year, and no fringe benefits. I'm a big supporter of home rule. It also gives the opportunity in the charter to write in the possibility of recall elections for row offices or elected officials within county government. All it would take are 2 commissioners to pass a motion, right? An ordinance standing up a study commission, or the more challenging way is to go ahead and get a petition signed by what would be the equivalent of 5% of the individuals who voted in the last governor's race. Here in Carbon County, that would be about 1,133 signatures on petitions. And those petitions, you have about 7 weeks to get those petitions signed. So again, I'm going to cut it off there. Again, if you want to learn more about home rule, go to C4 Commissioner Facebook page. You'll see, or YouTube, and you will see about 1 hour and 3-minute discussion on home rule. But more importantly, if there's anything you need from me, please give me a call. And I'm talking in regards to my role, my status as an elected official or representative of the 64,000 residents of Carbon County. Give me a shout, 570-503-6780. Never hesitate to message me, call me, and we'll go ahead and see what we can do to assist. If necessary, I'll push you to the subject matter experts who are more capable, more knowledgeable than I on a particular subject or matter. But again, use me as your medium, your facilitator, your connector to help you resolve the issues, the challenges, bring up the ideas that you have to enhance the quality of life for all 64,000 residents of Carbon County and those who come to enjoy the natural beauty and the environment in which we are blessed to live in. Again, have a great afternoon and a great weekend. This is Chris Lukasiewicz, Carbon County Commissioner. Have a great day.